Great to have you with us. Please like, subscribe, and share. Now, while all this is going on, we've got more good news. The winning just keeps continuing today on a beautiful Thursday where winning is winning is winning. We've got a Democrat civil war. This is one of the most interesting stories, I think, out there. We've got the Dems absolutely crushing each other over how left is the party going to go. You've got the AOCs, the Bernie Sanders of the world trying to throw the party into pure communism. And they're being followed on by the newest vice chair of the Democrat Party, David Hogg. How did this? I mean, talk about unqualified. But anyway, so we're going to dive into that because David Hogg had some interesting things to say. And James Carville, who was a once stalwart Democrat, political pundit and operative and campaign consultant, had a few things to say about it. So let's dive in to a little blue on blue metaphorical violence as the Dems eat themselves. Like we've said over and over again, woke will always eat itself. And this, along with what you just saw in the last segment, remember that politics is all about snapshots and sound bites and contrasts. And just like Trump was able to contrast Van Hollen going to El Salvador to try to rescue a criminal, illegal terrorist gangbanger, he was able to contrast that with Patty Marin telling the story of her daughter. That will resonate with American people. Likewise, this is going to cause the Dems to fall farther because they are trying to skew even farther away from the vast majority of the American electorate. Check this out.
The DNC. He was a survivor of the Marjorie Douglas Stoneham catastrophe, apocalypse, whatever you call it, mass murder. And he is a young, but very progressive, in a hurry young man, fine. And he is trying to raise money to primary other Democrats. All right, wait a minute. Let's get this straight. He is the vice chairman of the Democratic National Committee, and he is talking about raising $20 million to primary other Democrats. Well, what I think, ideally, it should be an organization that's trying to beat Republicans, not other Democrats. And if you want to have a kind of squad thing where you go, they never run against Republicans. Understand that. The squad never, ever runs against a Republican.
With the exception of AOC.
Who did she run against?
She ran against a bunch of Republicans in the congressional elections last.
That was a plus 30. But I think
she helped to come. But you're right.
She doesn't. We're in a plus 30 Democratic district. I just don't pay attention to you. I understand that, and somebody's got to win. But when you're talking about using the power of the DNC, whatever power it has, it's not very much, but you're using that, and we're paying, Democratic donors are paying David Hogg's salary, they're paying David Hogg's staff, and he wants to run against other Democrats. Well, that's America. Run against who the fuck you want to, but don't sign your position. Guts, man. Have guts, stand your own. I don't think that's part of the Democratic coalition. I don't think they're redeemable. I don't think they want to be redeemed. Then I go back to the instance of something called American Voices that is supported by mainstream Democratic groups that had 12 at a meeting this month, April of this year, where they had bowls of buttons where you could put your pronoun and wear your button. I don't think these people think people will get it. I say now, I think we ought to think about just having a schism. I think these people should get their own party. Don't call it anything Democratic. Call it the Socialist Urban Justice Community Unity Party of the whatever.
Absolutely amazing. That is, I totally get where Carville's coming from, but we can also remember who Carville is, right? It's not like Carville's trying to skew necessarily to the center, but he's got to laugh. He wants to have a schism now in the Democrat Party. He wants the progressives to leave. He wants the progressives to get out of the party because they are doubling down on exactly what lost them the election in November. They are doubling down on the border, on open borders, criminal illegal aliens running amok in the streets, them getting paid thousands of dollars of taxpayer money, free housing, free food, free healthcare, free cell phones, free travel. That's what they want from the immigration side. They want an economy that is America last. Let's give money to Ukraine. Let's give money to everybody else. Let's keep getting screwed by trade deals. and they want woke. They want the ultra woke side of the party to triumph. They want pronouns. They want men and women sports. They want the transgender ideology and religion to be paramount in the Democrat Party. And they want the Democrat Party to become essentially a religion where if you don't subscribe, if you are not woke enough, you are gone. Hence, the David Hoggs of the world are talking about spending millions to primary Democrat incumbents because they are not woke enough. We've said it many times. Other pundits have said it. Bongino, Greg Foreman, everybody has said woke, the left will eventually eat itself because they built this ridiculous coalition on intersectionality and victim Olympics, where everybody is in this stupid hierarchy of how big a victim are you? How far left woke are you? And eventually, no one is going to be woke enough for the next guy. Everyone's going to be trying to outdo them on how big a loser victim you are. And it never works because if you start singling people out, once you balkanize people, you can only tie them together for so long based on victimhood and based on hate for the other party. When the other party starts to see what issues resonate and coalesces around those issues, as the Trump coalition has done, then they are going to start losing because they are going to start eating each other, which is exactly what happened. So David Hogg, how this person ever got elected as vice chair is just amazing. He is absolutely, utterly unqualified, but yet he got elected by these morons. His only claim to fame was he was at Parkland. That's it. The man doesn't have hardly a brain in his head. But here we go. He assumed his position in February, insists on spending $20 million primarying Democrats through Leaders We Deserve, the grassroots organization dedicating to electing young progressives to Congress. So he is basically the vice chair of the DNC, and he has his own basically super PAC that raises money to fight Democrats. I mean, this is just too good to be true. This is what they have become. They are absolutely destroying each other. I interviewed Hogg, said that he would face blowback for his decision to serve simultaneously as top official in the party, which is typically focused on, hey, let's elect as many Democrats as possible, and a leader of an effort to out current Democrat leaders. I mean, this is just classic. I love it. This is going to anger a lot of people. Sure it is. And it's going to help you lose elections because it's not like you're primarying the ultra woke to get to the center. It's not like you're getting rid of the AOCs and the Bernies and the Ilhan Omars and the Jaipals and these morons to get to a more center-left party. No. He's going to throw over, as much as I detest the establishment, some of them are at least center-left. They're going to throw over all the old center-lefts for the ultra-woke nonsense. And it's not going to win them election because Americans don't want ultra woke. Well, Chris Cuomo had Carville on to discuss this very fact on his show on News Nation. Let's dive in.
Democratic strategist James Carville recently told the progressive branch of his party, hey, maybe you go your way and we go ours. First of all, Jimmy, thank you for joining us. Happy Easter in advance. Rebirth and renewal resonates as much or more than ever. What did I get wrong?
Well, I don't think he got much wrong, but Citizens United was was Republican plaintiffs, all decided by Republican judges. So let's lay it on the side.
Right.
It's clearly a Republican. What I would quarrel with is not any facts, but what's happening to this guy in El Salvador. The trial judge, the appellate judge, 9 Supreme Court justices back to the trial court said, let him go. They are ignoring a court order. Well, if you do that, we become China. Xi doesn't care what the China.
Now, I'm going to stop it here because obviously before they get into talking about Hogg, Carville wants to go off on this little rant over Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who we discussed in the first segment. But I want to address some of his points here because, again, he is like the reason he's not going to help the Democrats all that much. As much as he is trying to pull some people a little bit to the center, Carville's ultra left. The Democrat Party in general is already ultra left. It's just that the AOCs and the Bernies are going to take it so far left, it's essentially communist. or socialist. No, but Bernie is doubling down on this lie that the courts demanded Kilmar Abrego Garcia be released. No, they did not. The 9-0 decision at the Supreme Court, listen to Stephen Miller, specifically says that no court, be it the Supreme Court or a district court, can compel the president or the secretary of state or the Article 2 executive branch to undertake any effort of foreign policy. They cannot do it. And they said, therefore, our order is that the administration facilitate the return of Abrego Garcia, which basically means should El Salvador wish to return him, we cannot deny him entry. We cannot say, no, we reject him at the border. We have to take him back. We have to facilitate his return. But his return would be immediately to a jail cell where he would await another deportation. Because what he fails to tell you is that 2 judges have already weighed in with deportation orders. And a deportation order says that he must be deported. Not that the administration can at their whim. No, he must be deported. So Carville's lying to the American people about this issue before they dive into the Hogg. I just want to address that.
Chinese court say. So I do think this is an elevated issue, because if we don't go and get this innocent person out, who every judge in his look is get this guy back, we'll sacrifice him with God. But I totally agree. The effect of money in politics is sickening. And of course, Citizens United was a totally Republican initiative. But yeah, the Democrats, if you get a designated hitter, we're going to use the designated hitter. But I cannot argue with the fact that money holds way too much sway in politics today.
Well, money holds sway in politics because it holds sway everywhere, because we have allowed a very small group of corporate elite to dictate everything that happens in this country. Your party, when it was Bill Clinton and my father nominating him, was he going to run against Bill or not? They were both about the same kinds of things, which were middle-class families. Now, even when it's Bernie and AOC, they seem more like fringe radical types than making the case that I made up at the top.
Let me make a point about Bernie and AOC. But Bernie ran for president twice. He's lost twice. AOC, the guy David Hogg, they don't run against the Democrats.
Yeah.
They don't run against Republicans. Well, when you beat a Republican, come back and see me, and I will be impressed. But if you're spending all your time, and I think that's the real problem. And I mean, it's fine. They draw big crowds. They draw everything. That's great. But all they want to do, and all this guy Hogg wants to do, is they want to beat, like Democrats are not the problem right now. We're not holding an innocent person in El Salvador in jail. We're not starting a trade, an ill-thought-out, idiotic trade war. And yet they're spending all their time, a lot of their time, I'll be fair to Bernie and AC, they do attack Trump, but they never run against Republicans. And when Bernie ran twice as a Democrat, he lost, and he lost by a lot. So maybe the Democratic Party is trying to tell you twice. It's probably a message there. I don't know.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. The Democrats twice rigged the primary against Bernie. Not that I'm saying I'm a Bernie fan, but yes, the establishment of the Democrat Party wants very little to do with the ultra left. Now, when you say the establishment of the Democrat Party and ultra left, those two terms are 100% relative, because it has moved, it has shifted so far left. What is now the Democrat Party would be unrecognizable, the likes of JFK, would be unrecognizable. It's just absolutely amazing what they stand for and what the likes of JFK, whether you agree with them or disagree with them, stood for. The Democrat Party has been absconded by American communists and globalist communists and taken way far to the left. But he's absolutely right. These people AOC won an election against another Democrat. She gets elected in a district that's D plus 30. No Republican is ever going to win that district. All she had to do was beat the other Democrat. And that's what he's saying. These people can beat other Democrats. They can't beat Republicans.
Listen, I have no problem with more parties. I think that coalitions will probably be a more effective structure than what we have right now, because you have a binary battle to the bottom. Which side is worse? That's what these parties spend all their time on.
Well, yeah, that's maybe you need to stop from the Democratic Party. Call themselves a socialist, I don't know, urbanist, central city.
But you know why they're doing it. They looked at MAGA, and they did what we see all the time when you don't have better minds and better ideas. This is why you were so transcendent in politics, is that, and I always find it so cheap when people say, oh, Jim Carville, oh yeah, it's the economy, stupid. No, 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 that wasn't your genius. Your genius was, I'm not going to be what beats me. What you see with Bernie and AOC now is MAGA playbook. Make the masses angry. Dave Hogg, that's MAGA playbook. Go after your own and have a purity test. But what beats you, if you become that, you're not going to beat it.
Right. Well, I don't think the most.
Cuomo's got that right. I mean, they're trying to go ultra far left because they think the Republicans have gone ultra far right because they're so Trump deranged. But the truth of the matter is, Donald Trump has actually drugged the Republican Party more to the center. It is not the classic Republican Party. It's not the ultra right that they think. No, they think it's ultra right because they so hate Donald Trump. Donald Trump has actually, I would say, mediated the Republican stance on abortion, which I don't agree with. I think we should absolutely stand on principle on that one. He has introduced tariffs, which is completely against your Republican establishment. This has become not a left versus right fight as much as it is a nationalist versus globalist, a working class versus elite. It's become more of a vertical delineation and a vertical fight than it is a horizontal one. And Trump, in remaking the Republican Party and the Republican coalition, especially if the Democrats continue to skew ultra far left, could possibly set up the Republicans for the next, not only in the midterms, but then the next 8 years after that. It could be absolutely a drubbing for the next decade. Let's hope it is. Hey, thanks everybody for being here. Really appreciate your roll up. Please let me know how we're doing in the comments. Like, subscribe, comment, and most importantly, please share the Chris Highland Show with everybody that you know. Remember, God is good and he is sovereign. It'll all be good in the end. Until I catch you next time.